Quick video how to solder the IC connectors. So this will be the same as the EC. Well, not really, nothing like the EC, but anyway, you got this little extra wire in the middle, and basically I'm gonna just go through it. So what I had was I had one of these purchased adapters from the EC5 to the EC3, which is in anybody who's dealing with Spektrum. In order to use your Spektrum checker, you don't have a balance lead on the G2 batteries, which it's like kind of love and don't like. I love because when I'm like driving or something and I just want to plug a battery in, I don't have to pull over to do it. I could just plug this in, one plug. If you're trying to plug in a balance port into your, not into here, but into your charger, it could be a little bit cumbersome to try to do that. So you got to pull over, take some time, find a good spot, all of that. Whereas with the G2s, I just plug them in, they automatically charge. I love that. That's one of the major things I love. So anyway, this thing came extra long, and I have been thinking to myself, I need to make a new cable so I could have a couple of extras instead of depending on that one. So I cut this one in half because it's way too long anyway. And I'm gonna just put one small plug on that one and one big plug on this one. So I'm just gonna cover the procedure real quick. Not a big long video, just get into it. First things first, I'm gonna get my wires prepared. So I got my other end. First things first on everything is to always get your back plate, your cap put on the wires. If you forget that off, then you gotta desolder everything to put it on. So it's kind of important to get that sucker on there before you get started. All right, so I got my my big side connector on here already. They're marked. Right there is the positive, so then I'll know that the black one goes this way and the other one goes that way. I'm gonna take some Flux. I was with a buddy doing some stuff at the field, and he was like amazed that I was dealing with Flux, and I don't know, it just seems like it has always led me to better and quicker solder joints. So I'm all into it. I thought everybody was into it like that, but I guess maybe not. So I'm gonna strip an appropriate amount of wire, and this stripper is maybe not the perfect one. It's just what I had when I looked for something one day and ended up staying in here. So, but it does the job. No issues with it. It's a cheapie. I don't even know what brand or anything, but I'm gonna get everything stripped. And I think that'll do. Maybe a little bit more. Yeah, it didn't strip very well. I'm gonna click the switch on the solder iron right now and get that thing started up. I'm gonna hold that there, and then I'm gonna just take and get a little flux put on the wires, and especially on the tip of the wires, because that's where it can like force a lot of heat down into the wires really quickly and aid to good joints and definitely good tinning, because it's going to tin in a second when you put some on there like that. All right, my wire is somewhat prepped. I got some Horizon Duratrax solder. I'm gonna pull out a appropriate amount. I cleaned my tip appropriately with some steel wool, and I'm gonna get a little solder put on the tip. And for this small wire, just let it kind of suck up. Doesn't take but a second for them small wires like that. Then I'm gonna move on down to the big boys. Sometimes it helps. Different people have different opinions on all of these things, so just take mine for what you may. I didn't get a degree in soldering from MIT or anything. I just been doing it my whole life, in RC and car audio. I just, always, I'm good at it, or I don't know if I'm good at it, but anyway, I can get it done. Whereas a lot of people spend a lot of time burning up the wires and stuff. I never really had that issue. So I'm having a little trouble right there. These are bigger wires, so they don't soak through without putting an extremely large amount of heat on it. So then I'm gonna turn it to the point where I am having the trouble. I'm gonna get a little solder on my tip, and then I'm gonna go ahead and heat it right there, and boom, perfect joint after that. Let me see if I can get you up better. Yeah, it just sucked completely after that. And I'm gonna get this end piece. Yep, I'm fully tinned all the way around. All right, I'm gonna set this back down. I'm going to clean my tip. Something I do almost between every single portion of soldering. Just hold on that tip and just let it get the whole thing. And I don't know if you can see it, but it just kind of moltened and liquefied the whole solder that I already had. I'm gonna flip it over. Like I pointed out, bigger wires sometimes require a little bit more attention. So I'm gonna put a little more flux on the back side just because I love flux. And it just seems like it makes it suck so much easier. And of course it did. And I am good with a decent puddle all the way around. A decent tin, not so much a puddle. All right, I got my cap on. I got my jig set up. My negative is facing up. So then, in these connectors, you might want to do the small wire first, just to get it out of your way, especially if it's on a battery. If it's on a battery, go ahead and do it. In this case, I'm gonna do the negative because I'm already kind of lined up for it. So I'm gonna just use this little weighted piece to, you know, do this joint. And yeah. So I got a little solder. This is a used connector I took off of something, so I got a little solder already in there. So I am going to completely do a little bit more. And there's a long throat there, and I only stripped a short piece of wire, so I think I might go back and strip a little bit more. I didn't realize it was that deep. Most of the time you're trying to go so shallow just to make sure that the wire doesn't stick out the back or anything weird. In this case, I think we're safe to get a decent amount of coverage. I don't want to limit my connection due to how much wire I had stripped instead of going deep in the socket and still being able to cover. All right, at that point, I have more exposed wire, so I'm going to have a little bit more tinning to do. And I'm going to just get that done. I think I'm going to cut this part out. You don't need to see me tin any further, so I'm going to go ahead and make the video a little bit shorter. All right, I'm pretty well tinned at this point. I got a nice little holder so I don't have to burn my hand. I got a decent little fit there on my, I got one little loose piece of wire sticking out, so I'm going to smash that down with the needle nose. Maybe smash it back a little bit the other way. I went too far with that smash. It was too aggressive. All right, so it fits in there pretty good. Clean my tip one more time, and I'm going to get this kind of molten. And I'm sorry, but I can't get any closer than that because I gotta see. So I'm gonna get it where it's molten, and I'm gonna get that pressed in there. It's flush with the end of the silicone and the metal, and I'm gonna feed some solder until I see a decent puddle that I'm satisfied, and I do. I got a decent puddle all the way across. I want more though, just for the purposes of making sure I got a good tight connection, and I'm gonna get off. Once I have that flat surface, that's usually what I like to see. And I went ahead and stopped. I'm going to go ahead and release the weight and show you. It became one molten pool at that point. All right, there is already a bead of solder on the center terminal. So I am going to, I can mostly use this big wire for the positive to guide this wire in for me. So then I am going to just get it hot and get out the way. And that's all it really takes. There's no super voltage going through this wire, but switch over to my positive side, get it locked down. And one thing I didn't mention that I do like to do, and I'll do on the other end, and I'll show you that, but is to connect the connector to it. I don't have a connector for this side, so, oh, I do. I might have something. Let's see. Nope, I got the same exact one. I don't have a connector to put on the other side of this to make it where it can't move. So what I'm gonna do in this case is I'm gonna just connect to a battery, which is dangerous. You could short out something, but you know, at this point, you know, I know I'm safe. I'm not gonna touch this to there, you know, well, short them out basically. All right, so I got that set up. I'm just gonna use the weight to hold it now. And basically the same maneuver. It's gonna be less stable now, of course, because I don't have my block actually holding me. Just put the block on top of this to hold things still. And I just need to get that into there like such. All right, get my iron heated up. And is Flux in there already? I'm pretty sure I did. But with putting it on another connector, I noticed when I went back and got a little greedy on that last joint, the first joint on the negative, what you'll do is, by being greedy and trying to get it just perfect, you will heat up the connector too much and the pins will move. So be mindful of that, because then when you try to plug a battery in, it won't work, which wasn't my situation. However, be mindful of it. All right, so I got it in the hole. I'm gonna get the wire, and I should be able, with this one, there's enough in the hole already, I think, where I can just get it to seat. And it's seated instantly, look like, but or maybe I just need to bridge it. No, it's not enough to bridge. So I'm gonna feed some more until I get both sides of the wire to be pulled completely. I don't want a weak joint, you know, which these adapters, all right, I kind of fanned it out too much on one side, this side here. And this is a downfall of not being able to have your jig, because your jig kind of gives you more of a solid base, so you don't have issues like that. But I'm able to just drag the solder down and make a good joint like such. So now I am going to unplug from my battery, and I can show you the joint. So this is the bad side, and it looks pretty good. And then this is the good side. Now this battery is going to be mostly for like the tester, but you see what I got there. So good joint, no issues. So we're gonna do it one more time just to, you know, cover both ways. This is an EC5 and an EC3, so I'm actually covering two different bases, but they're identical, so it shouldn't be much to care about. This is the size you need, obviously. So I'm gonna plug this into a connector, which is kind of what I always do. I definitely always keep, this is a used one that had been in the box for a minute now. So I'm gonna go ahead and just lock him down. And once again, if you look at the connectors, there's all positive, even on the IC5 and the IC3. There is a positive and a negative on the connector itself to give you a last second acknowledgement right where you're about to get to that solder joint, that you don't mess up. Once again, put your cap on before you even strip, because if you put your cap on after you strip, sometimes you'll mess up your wires a little bit. Now I'm going to go a tighter little amount of tinning area, because the EC3s are smaller than the 5, so you definitely need that small bit to make that work. I'm going to go ahead and get this last wire strip, the smaller one, the gray. All right, I got that done. I'll go ahead and put it in a weighted holder. And I'm going to get some flux put in. And my iron's still heated. I don't tend to leave my iron on. I like to cut it off in between jobs. But in this case, I just left it running. And sucking good. I'll get this other one, and then I'm going to flip them both over. Got a decent puddle of solder everywhere, so I should be able to go all the way around and just smooth that out. Don't even need flux on this back side because it's just sucking real well. get my tip done. And go to this wire and get my tip clean, because I hate when solder it gets a little weird consistency to it when it's sitting on there for too long. I don't know if that makes sense to you. Get a little flux put in where I got a backside that's kind of further away. Put my wire on the jig so it'll sit straight up and I can just pull from it like that. Boom, little dip, and let it go all the way around. And I just find when I take the time to really go around and get it good like that, it's so much of a breeze to get into the connectors. Now this is a larger wire, so it's going to be a little bit less easy to get in. So I'm going to take and put a large amount of flux in both of these cups. All right, now we're going to do our negative first. I'm probably going to flip it over for the positive side, to be honest with you. I'm going to lean my solder right there in case I do need to pull a little. All right, my negative is facing up. So I'm going to see if that'll fit in there. Yeah, it won't. So then sometimes I'll tend to maybe get any little imperfections out with a needle nose just to make sure everything's laying flat. Then I'm going to see if I can get this in there. Yep. So it's a little bit hard to get in, and sometimes it's going to be an issue because I do want to get a good joint, but this is not something that'll ever fly, but it could, you know. So I do have a little rough area right there that I might just take an X-Acto knife and just cut that little edge off where I may have cut the solder. Not the solder, I may have cut the wire just a little bit crooked. So I'm going to just take the X-Acto knife and just take that ear off. All right. It's really probably just a pool of solder there. All right, so, oh, it's so tight, real close to getting in there though. Yeah. Take a little bit of a point, make a point out of it a little bit. And all I'm cutting off is the tinning that I just did, and not even all of it really, because it's a nice thick bubble ahead on there. So all right, once I get satisfied with I think I can get it in. All right, I'm in. So I'm gonna get this back in the jig. I'm gonna tighten them down an appropriate amount. I'm gonna get my holder set up and put him like that. And I knocked most of my solder around, flux around, so I'm gonna get another little pool in there. And I'll move this little wire out of my way because he's look like he's already in the way. And I'm gonna go ahead and get this pressed in. Soldering is super easy. And I know I can't really get that on video very well without an extra person to help me, but I mean, as soon as I stuck it on there, it almost was done. And like most of that stuff is like, yeah, look at the joint. So like most of that comes with like just practice and doing it. And I shouldn't, but I'm gonna be a little bit greedy here. No, I'm gonna leave it alone because that's a really good joint. Usually I would go back and hard-headedly enough, put a little bit more solder on there just to give it a smooth appearance, which is not necessary, just something I do. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get this clamped in here again. So this is a brand new connector. So I'm gonna take a teensy amount of flux and put that on there. All right, and I'm gonna just put just a bit of solder on the tip, and then I'm just gonna touch this. And when you're doing a battery, make sure this is gonna be like something, I cover that. I cover the terminals when I'm doing a battery because I don't want to take a chance at what touching the positive or the negative might do in a situation of a battery, right? I haven't figured that out because I'm always super, super careful with that. So at this point, you should use a little round tip. But of course, I've been doing it with this one so long, I can do it. And I'm confident that I can. So I'm just going to take it. Now I have one little strand of wire that's on there, and I would not want that to jump across to the positive. So, all right, I don't see it anymore. So it's probably broke off. So I'm gonna just touch it. All right, I got a connection there. So it's kind of, you know, it's close by. So you don't want to make a mistake with that stuff, but I got the same kind of little stuff all the way around on this one. Big pieces hanging off and stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and trim any of that because this is a big wire for a small connector. So I'm just gonna do the very last millimeter and just kind of flick it off of the end until I get it where I think I can get it in there. And get my wire back untwisted from all that twisting. Yeah, that's pretty good. So I pushed it in, but I'm gonna tighten this down good. And yeah, oh yeah, good joint. All right, the soldering iron is still heated. I'm gonna probably just use this cap or a needle nose to do this. Like, I am going to, and a lot of people, not a lot of people, somebody who obviously has an MIT degree in solder commented on me doing this, but I'm gonna just tin the bucket a little bit, you know, and this just helps things stick, man. He might have not liked it, but in some cases, especially when you got these wires that are a little bit too big, it just gets you in there where you need to be. And don't like it very much, but that is a good joint. It's solid. It's got a nice pool all the way across. And that's it. So I got myself 2 connectors now. I like to let that cool off a bit before I take that piece off, because like I said, the connectors inside the plastic of the housing will kind of migrate a little bit if you have it heated up. But yeah, now instead of having 1, I got 2. All right, that's how you do an IC3 IC5 connector. If you need, there you go. You got a video to kind of show you. Not like it's super technical, but just in case somebody might want to know. That's all I got for this one, folks. Thanks, Pooley out.